Hey guys, David with Trekboxx. We're going to take a look at the 250 series Land Cruiser Alpha system. This is a new system for us. It's got quite a few cool upgrades and a few small differences between what we've traditionally put out for the other Land Cruisers and other vehicles. So in general, it's a standard Alpha. You've got the large drawer on the right, the fridge slide, and the shallow drawer on the left. And I'm gonna get up a little closer here. You can see that on the 250, we don't put a wing kit on there because we were able to fit a system in that was quite large. It's about 2.5 inches wider than the 200 series, but it is 2.5 inches shorter front to back than the 200. So just in general, it's a different shape. You know, initially I thought not having the wings would be a problem. You know, not only do you not have the space, but also a lot of people like to run the electronics on the wing face in the front there. But once I got the system in and really took a look, well, look at all the space you have underneath. So you could easily add a faceplate anywhere along here and put in switches, air hookups. Like you can see Slee put in one here. I think it was Slee who did this truck. You could easily put that in a faceplate and put as much stuff as you wanted back there. So all in all, not a bad trade-off. It's also elevated because the hybrid battery in the floor. So we've got the cargo platform underneath. The system bolts onto that with just 4 bolts. And I'll show you some here. There's one of the bolts in the corner. There's one on each corner of the system, and the nuts are captured in the system. So if you ever need to remove the system, you can pull the barriers off and just 4 bolts and it comes out. Or if you're trying to access your 12-volt battery, which is behind the fridge area here in the wall, you can probably just unbolt the 4 bolts and slide the whole thing forward after tumbling the seats, and you should have access to the battery. So we'll take a look here. So one of the big upgrades on this system is we went away from the lock-in, lock-out Accuride slides, and now we're using lock-out only, and we went to a rotary latch system. So these buttons here, just give it a push, and the drawer comes open. So before we get to the dividers there, you still have the lockout built into the slide. So to release the slide to push in, you still push this tab down, and then the drawer will close. What we found is there's much more of a positive closure on these. There's absolutely no rattle. I mean, I'm moving the whole truck, you know, pulling on that. There's no sound at all. So the slides were good, but when the bumpers would start to wear, they'd start to make some noise, and you'd have to adjust them, you'd have to grease them. And so we shouldn't have to do any of that anymore. They still may need adjustment. If I open the fridge slide here, you can see we had to do a custom striker pin mount for the back there. And there's one on each drawer, and that where the pin mounts is slotted. So it is adjustable to get just the right fit. So over time, slamming this thing over and over, sure, it may come out of adjustment. You may need to adjust it, but other than that, it should be really quiet for you. Here, I'm really pushing on. I can start to get some noise if I really start rocking the truck, but that's about it. So pretty good. So far, so good. Shallow drawer, same thing, push button. And you can see the rotary latch there that actually engages a pin, which is under the fridge slide. I don't know if I can, there it is, up under there. So we kind of shoehorned everything in here, really didn't lose much space at all. If I open up this fridge slide, get this shallow drawer open, I can show you what it looks like under here. So put a little doghouse around the push button, but you don't lose much space because you already have these vertical lift hinges that are, you know, they kind of shorten your drawer anyway. Same thing on the back. The entire shallow drawer is an inch or 2 shorter, but that space was already kind of useless because of this lift hinge. So the rotary latch is on the back of the shallow drawer there. So you still have the same access to the shallow drawer. And on the fridge slide, there's a small doghouse there. I tucked it up as close as I could over the slide up into the corner to minimize the space lost in the fridge area, but it does kind of clip the corner of the fridge area there. Now on the large drawer, sorry, I hope I'm not making you guys sick. There's 2 dog houses, and because this is where you're gonna be throwing gear, these I made out of Baltic and coated them in the same polyurea coating, so they're pretty darn durable. They are removable if you need to, maintain the system at all. But one in the rear, one in the front of the drawer. It takes up a little bit of space, not a big deal. Now if we close this shallow drawer, I'll show you how these cables run. Before I do that, so the shallow drawer cable, we have a custom linkage system in there. Runs around the back and up to the rotary. And again, to close, you still have to push the drawer slide. So that's gonna be a little confusing for people at first. This to open, this to close. Now on the large drawer, you've got the doghouse on the inside of the front of the drawer and a plate on the outside because I tried to put that push button basically in line with the wall, cut the wall out a bit so we minimize the space lost inside the drawer. The cable comes down, makes a few loops around here just to get the length right and have a little bit of play for adjustment. But other than that, it's a pretty seamless system, and I think you guys are gonna like it. Now, as far as the drawer dividers, this is new for the 250. I've kind of stayed away from the drawer dividers because there are other options out there that are good. And I don't necessarily think this is better. This is just ours. It's a new way. So these are HDPE, plastic drawer dividers. One of the problems with our drawers in particular, because we coat them, the inside dimension of that drawer varies slightly. So we can't just put a slot in the drawer and drop a piece of wood or a piece of plastic in there. It'll just rattle and drive you crazy. So I had to create these shapes. So these are kind of like virtual hinges on the side. They're a little bit oversized, and once they're in the drawer, they put a little bit of pressure on there to keep the rattle out. What you're hearing is the drawer slide, but not these dividers. And then these little cross dividers, they go about every 4.5, 5 inches, depending on the drawer. They're real easy to put in and take out. You just kind of give them a twist, and you can put them anywhere you want. So I haven't figured out exactly how these will be sold as a set, maybe a la carte, I'm not really sure, but you'll see something on the website pretty soon for those. So one of the issues with the 250 series Land Cruiser is the hybrid battery sticks up out of the floor a few inches, and so that limits your vertical space. That combined with the fact that in general it's just a smaller vehicle, it's shorter than the 200 vertically in the rear. And so, with the shelf, in the highest position where it is now, I did that just to show you how little space there would be. There's quite a bit of room in there, but access is very limited. You're talking 2-3 inches there. But this is in the highest position. It does adjust down every inch for 3 inches down, so you can get another 3 inches of space there. But that's going to depend on the fridge that you're running. So I made an executive decision to keep the shelf because it is still handy. You can stuff things up in there, even in the highest position. I don't know, jackets, stuff like that you can get in there. There's some limited access from the second row up there, but it's still useful. And then especially if you're running a shorter fridge, most fridges are shorter than the position we have the shelf in. So you're gonna get some usable space up there once you drop that shelf down. Okay, so we're here in the second row because I wanted to talk about the different platform options that I'm working on for the second row for the 250 Land Cruiser here. So as you can see, we have the cargo deck, which is, I don't know, probably 6 inches above the floor here in the second row. It's a little less in the back, but that covers the hybrid battery. So that's the lowest level you can go if you want a full deck all the way up to the back of the front seats there. So the first option is going to be essentially a cargo deck for the second row. It's going to extend that cargo deck all the way up to the back of the front seats. And when I measure for these, I put the seats in what I call G mode, right? So it's, you know, all the way back on the slide and then tilted a little bit farther back than you would ever have it for driving. So, you know, you don't want to be restricted to be in a comfortable position by your cargo platform, right? So that's gonna go all the way up there at the hybrid battery level. That'll be the permanent install. You know, you take the second row seats out, you bolt this thing in, it's kind of, you know, got some hatches and all that good stuff. The second option is going to be a permanent install that's at the level of the top of the system. That will come up to, you know, essentially the same, you know, the same place up here where the cargo deck extension would be. The cargo deck extension will be a little bit farther out because of the slant of the seat, but that would be a permanent install. At that level, I'll also have a temporary extendable platform, like a sleeping platform, so you can keep the second row seats in, just tumble them, extend the platform, and you know, jump in there to go to sleep or whatever. The third and fourth options are going to be the same as far as a permanent and a temporary install, but we're gonna make a system that's lower. It's probably gonna be about 3.5 inches lower by my guess right now. Because of the loss of space with this hybrid battery, we are gonna run a lower system option for this vehicle. It'll be an option for the Bravo only. And then on that Bravo, you will have the option of a permanent or temporary sleeping platform set up for the second row.